I could not do this video sober. So if you're watching this, you must have some desire to learn about becoming a professional StarCraft 2 commentator in esports and becoming successful at it. It just so happens that I am a premier StarCraft 2 commentator. So how did I get here? How the hell did I luck my way into it? Because it wasn't skill, it wasn't natural born talent. I can tell you my 5 steps on how I thought I became a professional, successful esports 2 commentator. Now, of course, I have to mention, if you're enjoying the video, please do whatever the hell you want. I really don't care about my viewership metrics. Number 1, this is gonna sound like the most generic advice ever, but people say it a lot because it's true. Everyone says, be passionate, do something you're passionate about. The way I'm gonna say it is, do it because you like doing it, not because people are praising you for it. I think this is one of the big issues with people who try and pursue this kind of thing, because it's a very public thing. You get a lot of praise and you also get a lot of hate, and it will oscillate between which one you're getting. And if you are driven by other people's opinion, you're in for a bad time. You're really gonna struggle. I remember one of the most useful pieces of advice I've ever gotten in my life was I asked Day9, how do I become a professional StarCraft 2 esports commentator? And he said, cast every day for 30 days in a row. Because you'll cast when you're in a bad mood, you'll cast when you fail the test, you'll cast when you get a new girlfriend and when she dumps you. And you'll learn what it's like to cast when you're in all the different sorts of moods. And you'll really discover how seriously you want to take it and whether or not it's something you're even interested in doing. I learned so much just from casting one game of StarCraft every single day for 30 days in a row in every possible mood I could have oscillated through. And it really helped solidify the fact that I did enjoy it. It wasn't me casting because I wanted to be successful. I was casting because I enjoyed the act of casting. And I feel like it honestly builds into just this idea that you are serving a greater purpose than being successful at something. All of these things I think are going to drive you a lot more. That ultimate purpose, that true north, is gonna drive you 1,000 times more consistently than you just wanna be successful. Because let me tell you something, that's not gonna keep you in the game. I've seen this so many times. If you are overly focused on numbers, you will lose your drive as soon as the numbers start to fade away. And it's hard. It's easier said than done. But find and get that strong footing at the very beginning where you just solidify, what do you enjoy about casting? Number 2, find your niche. When I started, I was an absolute nobody. Nobody cared at all about anything that I was doing. And then I decided to double down on North American StarCraft. Now I'm the North American StarCraft guy. Same thing, I made a stupid image series that was just about useless facts in StarCraft. And then when I went to go meet the lead balance designer for StarCraft 2, David Kim at the time, he comes up to me and doesn't say, oh, Fear Dragon, I really enjoy your casting. No, he goes, hey, Fear Dragon, love your useless facts. In a lot of ways, it put me on the map. And it's just because when you go into a niche that you really enjoy and can just drive home into, it gives you a focus on a smaller problem, and it circumvents the whole competing with everybody else. It's not about competing with everyone else now. It's about owning that little piece, that tiny piece of the pie, and getting that comfort zone, getting your foot in the door, and then expanding out as things start to feel comfortable. I started with just doing semi-pros in North America, and eventually I just started doing more and more high-level NA players, and from there I started actually covering some of the Europeans and the Koreans and the rest of the world. And now look at me, I get to cast people from everywhere. I get to do global events, but I still got that basis, that core fundamentals in North American StarCraft. So find your niche, drive home into it, solve that one problem, and really just own it. Make it a part of your brand. Number 3, don't be an asshole. This should be such obvious advice. Why do I even have to go over this one? All right, this is gonna come like a surprise to a lot of you. But when you're an asshole, things don't always work out for you. Nobody wants to work with an asshole. People want to work with people that they enjoy working with. I mean, think about it. People who work 9-to-5 jobs, oftentimes they'll spend more time with their coworkers than they will with their family. Do you really want to spend a majority of that time working with an asshole? This isn't even about like, oh, BS positivity, just be true to yourself. I mean, just having a good attitude around people, being willing to be optimistic and work with other people to be somewhat empathetic goes such a long way. If you don't have the skills to read the room, figure out when is the appropriate time to say something versus not say something, definitely work on those skills. Those are invaluable skills, not just in esports, but just in life in general. Whatever you want to do, this will help you succeed in life. Esports casting and most of life is not actually a meritocracy. How people feel about you does affect your degree of success. As a software engineer in Silicon Valley, I often say I would much rather work with someone that was kind of not super smart, but had a great personality and I enjoyed being around, versus someone who was an absolute genius but a total asshole to work with. Every time the asshole gets booted, and I will take the person that's enjoyable to work with, because this is also going to be my life and my happiness. If you really struggle with this kind of stuff, before you say things, just get in the habit of asking these 3 questions. Is telling this person whatever feedback I'm about to give them going to actually create a positive change? Or am I just doing this to feel better about myself? Is there a way I can phrase this same feedback in a way that they're probably going to be more likely to actually listen to it? Is now the best time to give that feedback, or would it probably be better to give it at a later time under better circumstances? And just remember, this isn't about being fake and pretending to be someone you're not. I've definitely met people who are like this. It's about not trying to just network with people for the sake of having them in your contacts. Really actually try and empathize with other people. Don't just do this because you want to succeed. Do it because the people that you're going to be working with are probably cool people if it's the same space that you want to work in, and they're probably worth getting to know and making an actual human connection with. Leverage your seemingly useless talents. And I know what you're thinking. Fear Dragon, I have no talent. But you're wrong. I thought I had no talent, and I was almost right. I was thinking, man, how do I compete with all these full-time esports commentators when I'm just part-time? And then it hit me. I'm a software engineer. I don't have to play by your rules. So I started doing things like writing scripts to do the player research for me for commentary instead of having to do it manually myself like a frickin' peasant. I ran my own tournaments and self-funded them and hired myself to cast them because I had a job and stable income. Whatever your situation is, you probably have some advantages and disadvantages. Play to your advantages. Don't play to your disadvantages. Just because your favorite commentator is full-time into StarCraft doesn't mean you have to do everything the same way that they did. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, oh, Fear Dragon, I'm not a software engineer. I can't just write programs and stuff. Your stuff was too easy for this. No, screw you. If I were a goddamn blacksmith, I would forge with my smithery skills new tournament statues and trophies and shit, and I'd run tournaments that literally there was no prize money. I would just make a goddamn cool ass trophy and mail it to people. That would be it, and I would hire myself, and now I have more experience. Are you really gonna tell me that being a blacksmith is more relevant of a skill than whatever you have as a skill for StarCraft? Don't get in your own way. Look, speaking honestly, this is the one I've struggled with the most. And maybe it won't be an issue for everyone, but it was definitely and probably still is an issue for me. One of the hardest truths to come to terms with in probably life, but also specifically this scene, is that it's not a meritocracy. And skill at casting is not always going to be the most important thing on the docket for success. casting is arbitrary and it's super opinionated. Not everyone's gonna share the same opinion on what is or isn't a good commentator. Sometimes you'll miss opportunities that you feel like you are more deserving of, and sometimes you'll get opportunities that you think, how the did this person hire me for this? Do they not know who's available? Honestly, I've beat myself up so many times about getting hired for something, thinking these people are so dumb. They chose me. They really didn't do their research. Now I have to live up to the expectation of who they could have hired. I've also definitely gotten upset because I felt like I was better suited for casting some North American StarCraft event than some other people. It's just not a healthy place to be. Learn to be yourself, learn what you bring to the broadcast, and be okay with that. And remember, going back to step number 1, you're doing it because you enjoy it. You're not doing it for the success. You're not doing it for the praise. You're not doing it for other people to validate you. You have to do it because you internally feel validated by doing it. Because if you do it the other way and you start getting angry about every opportunity you do or don't get, well, you're just gonna be in for a bad time. There's a lot of things completely unrelated to your skill as a commentator that are gonna affect what jobs you get, what jobs you don't get, and who likes you, who doesn't. That's life. That's gonna happen whether you're a StarCraft 2 commentator, a Dota 2 commentator, a software engineer, a janitor, or a blacksmith. Ultimately, success is out of your control for this. As much as we would love to be in the driver's seat and be able to say, yes, I did all these things and I hit all these check boxes, so I'm gonna be a successful StarCraft 2 commentator, it doesn't work like that, and life doesn't usually work like that. Instead, you kind of just gotta learn to enjoy the ride as you're getting there. Find the pieces you enjoy, because that's what you can control. You control how you decide to approach something, approaching it in a way that you enjoy, that you can feel good about. And then at the end of the day, whether or not you decide to continue pursuing it. Those are the things in your control, not your success. And while not everything is totally in your control, I really feel like following these 5 steps really do start to maximize your potential. I think that my success is pretty repeatable outside of the obvious degree of luck involved. So I hope you feel empowered to go become a StarCraft 2 commentator yourself. Show the world what you're capable of. Boot old Fear Dragon out of the caster spotlight. Show me that you, in fact, follow my 5-step guide, becoming a professional StarCraft 2 commentator. Now remember, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button of some other channel because I don't give a shit about your viewership. I'm just here because I got really drunk on a Wednesday.